Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
An investigation into claims of widespread voter fraud. It hasn't happened yet, but he said he was going to do it, so we're waiting. Our next guest first tweeted the claim that 3 million people voted illegally on November 11th. That's Gregg Phillips. He tweeted, completed analysis of database of 180 million voter registrations. Number of non-citizen votes exceeds 3 million. Consulting legal team. Now, 2 days later, he sent another tweet. We have verified more than 3 million votes cast by non-citizens. We are joining @TrueTheVote to initiate legal action. Hashtag unrigged. Those tweets went wild. They were disseminated by many right-wing sites. They became, apparently, a source for Donald Trump's voter fraud beliefs. Gregg Phillips joins us now. I appreciate you doing this. I know this has become increasingly uncomfortable, but it matters.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
First, what's your take? Do you accept the premise that the president may have, through back channels, picked up on what you put out in those initial tweets as a suggestion, which we'll get to, and that is motivating his current belief?
Well, I mean, he's the President of the United States. It's clearly way above my pay grade. You know, our analysis is what it is, and we believe that truth is truth, and if the President and his team believe the same is true, then maybe they are, but our motivations in initiating all of this had nothing to do with President Trump.
Okay, so what is the truth, to use the word? Do you know and can you prove right now that 3 million people voted illegally?
Yes. We began this effort years and years ago. We have developed a database of 189 million voting records. We've augmented that database with everything from geocoding to all sorts of identifying information. We've developed algorithms that allow us to first verify identity. We can verify residency. We can verify citizenship, felon status, and all of the other factors that go into making a legal registered voter.
So you have the proof?
Yes.
Because when you tweeted those things and the media came to you about it, you said, hold on. This is just a tweet. I'm just some guy. I haven't proven it yet. This is what I think I'll be able to do in the future, right? You did say that.
Well, I don't think I ever said that I think. I mean,
But you hadn't done it yet, what I'm saying. When you initially tweeted it, you admitted you hadn't done it yet.
No, that's not correct.
Because that's what was picked up in the Statesman, in an interview with you.
Well, the Statesman was wrong, as is often the case. Our concerns all along were simply that what we're talking about here is we're going to, should we push this out there, we're talking about accusing 3 million people of multiple felonies. It's a federal felony to register to vote, and it's a federal felony to vote.
Right.
So if we jumped out there with you know, just our initial analysis rather than refining it and quality checking it, we'd be out there with, you know, potentially some people that really aren't committing felonies of felonies.
Well, how did you not do that in your first tweet? Just as a matter of fact.
Well,
you said, we know that 3 million illegally voted.
Right.
You did that already.
We didn't name a soul, though. We didn't name a person.
And you still haven't.
But we will.
Do you have the proof?
Yes.
Will you provide it?
Yes.
Can I have it?
No.
Why?
The rest of the tweets, there was a whole series of tweets.
Right.
Those were taken slightly out of context. But one of the key tweets that we have stuck with all along is we're going to release all of this to the public. We're going to release our methodology. We're going to release the raw data. We're going to release our conclusions. We're going to release everything to the public.
When?
As soon as we get done with the checks.
Wait, hold on. So you're not done checking it yet?
The challenge is this. Let's just say that we're talking about verifying identity. Identity has a number of different components. Somebody might mistype a name, for example. Is Greg with 2 G's, Greg with 1 G?
Right.
That can be fixed with a type of algorithm called fuzzy logic, right? We can go in and fix that 2 G's really is 1 G, or we think. But there's an element of risk in that. Next, you have to go to a dissimilarity index. how likely is it that Gregg Allen Phillips is Gregg Phillips?
Right.
And that creates another, even though it can be resolved, it creates another element
I get
of
it.
risk.
It's very complicated.
So those pile themselves up. And even if you ended up with, say, a risk factor or a false negative or false positive proportion of, say, 1%, you're still looking at the possibility of 30,000 people being accused of felonies.
So the first problem
it's in our interest and everyone else's best interest that we take our time. Time is not as important as veracity.
Well, that's absolutely true. However, you're giving yourself the benefit of some facts here which aren't in your favor, which is you already said you proved this.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Now, saying why you don't want to put out the information because you're not 100% yet about who everybody is that you think they are. Well, those fight each other, right? Because if I say I know, and then you say, great, prove it, and I say I can't because I'm not done checking whether or not I'm sure.
No.
It sounds unconvincing. Do you understand why?
I do understand, but it's no different than, say, a poll. You guys quote polls all the time, right?
It better be a lot different.
Plus or minus.
That is a guesstimate.
Plus
a poll
or minus,
is a guesstimate.
But they've actually talked to people. So what you're publishing is you're publishing statistics, right? And so you're publishing a number that it's, plus or minus 3% that we believe this veracity. They don't publish what the people said, right? They don't publish the names of the people. And that's what we're doing. We're going back in and checking. We know the numbers are right. We're going back in and checking.
But that's different.
No.
It's different because that's a representative survey of a group. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. But the basic difference is...
Well, 3 million's a representative survey of 137 million.
Right, but it better not be a survey. It better be a fixed number of votes that were wrongfully cast because it can't be a guess. It can't be an estimate because this is about the legitimacy of a democracy.
Exactly.
You have put it on the line saying it is illegitimate. You've said our process was illegitimate and you can prove it. You're now saying, well, we're not there yet, making sure we have all the names right. That's what I'm hearing.
We are interested in free and fair elections. Going back to 1984, federal grand juries and others have determined tens of thousands of non-citizens were registered to vote and voting.
Well, that, I don't know, the studies, I'm sure you know this research as well.
That's not a study, that's a federal grand jury report.
Well, but what is it based on, right? They have amici come in, right? They have friends of the court come in and present data to the grand jury. What I'm saying is everyone who's looked at this said, is there fraud in our system? Yes. Do we have people who register wrongly, who vote improperly, the shenanigans by parties and government infrastructures? Yes, but de minimis. Small. The number of prosecuted cases in the dozens. Over 1 billion votes were surveyed, and they came back with marginal results. You're saying you can prove 3 million people. The only other person who says that is the President of the United States. So you've got to prove it.
I'm saying what's happened here is that over time, while we do have those shenanigans, as you call them, the actual fraudsters that are out trying to sway elections, what's happened over time is that we've allowed a system that has, in essence, institutionalized the frauds. So if someone comes into the federal registration system and checks the box and says, I'm a citizen, and no one ever checks that, and that person ends up on the voter rolls, how can we then declare that we have a free and fair set of elections if we have tens of thousands, millions of people that have been allowed to lie or otherwise?
But you're making an assumption on an unknown. You can't know how many people checked the box wrongly.
But we do. We've gathered that information.
And you have to show us the proof.
We will.
But you haven't.
We will.
But why would I believe your conclusion if you won't show me your method and means and analysis?
Whether you believe it or not doesn't mean that it's not true. Whether you have the information or not doesn't mean that I don't have the information.
Right, but if
truth
you can't...
is truth,
but if you
irrespective, right?
Right. Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. You're not allowing the second part of that equation because you haven't put out the information, and you're doing it to the disadvantage of a lot of Americans who want to know the answer to this.
There's 3 million people's own veracity on whether or not they're citizens in the balance here. We're not going to make a mistake.
But that's
we're going to do
you.
this. We're doing it.
But you already accused them.
Look, I'm not a politician. I'm just a guy.
We're
volunteers,
that's an excuse. That's a convenience. You put it out there, got by all these righty sites, it made its way to the president. He's now putting it forth as truth. You got to show what you know.
We will.
But when?
when the time's right.
What does that mean, when the time is right? The time is right now. That's why we're here. I didn't just bump into you in the hallway. You came here to talk about this.
Look at it this way. The technology exists for the federal government right now, today, to match this data out and give us the answer, right?
I don't know.
The Department of Homeland Security has the information. They can match it against the voter file, and they can give us, won't they?
I don't know that anything you're saying is true.
Maybe.
I don't know that they know who every non-citizen is who voted illegally in the United States.
They will as soon as they make the match. And as soon as Attorney General Sessions orders that be done and...
Well, hold on. So are you saying you're waiting for somebody else to do something so they'll know the answer? Because I'm not waiting on the government to tell me.
I'm saying it's easier for them. For us, it's tedious.
But what I'm saying is, look, either you know or you don't. What I'm hearing from you is you think you'll be able to show it.
No. What you're hearing is that I know. You just don't believe that I know.
Well, why would I believe it if you don't show how you know it? Come on, I mean, this is a very silly, simple circle that we're going in here right now. You say you can prove it. I say, okay,
sure.
I trust you. You can prove it. Show me. You say, I will, but you're not. Can you give me an estimated date?
We believe that it will probably take another few months to get this done.
And yet, even though you need a few more months to get it done, you think you know the answer right now.
We're volunteers. We know we have the answer.
Even though you can't prove it, you think you know.
The number's actually bigger.
Well, whatever. You can say the number is whatever it is. You have to show it. One other question. You put this out in the beginning of November. The states didn't certify until after that. I think Vermont was one of the few ones that came out 4 days after you.
Sure.
So you couldn't have done it off certified voter returns because you wouldn't have had them. Possibility of fact. So that means you must have based it on early voting returns. Is that a safe assumption?
In part.
Because you can't do it off the certified counts because you didn't have them when you put out the tweet.
But there's all sorts of ways, as you guys know about get out the vote, right? I mean, one of the ways that you do it is you have poll watchers there waiting to see who signs in.
That's not precise.
And whoever doesn't sign in, then you go get them.
That's not precise.
We are as precise as we need to be. More than 3 million non-citizens voted in this country in this election. We're prepared to prove it. We need a little more time. The president, should he choose to, can ask his Attorney General and the Department of Homeland Security to make that match on a dime, make the decision. We don't have to do the work. You don't have to believe it.
You have to do the work.
You can believe the government.
You have to do it, Greg, because you can't say, I know this is true. Let's have them prove it.
We're doing it.
This is on you.
We're doing it as fast as we can.
Right, but you already said you had the answer. You understand what I'm saying?
We do.
But you understand that logically that doesn't go together. If I know the answer to something, it's because I've concluded my process of analysis, not because I'm in the middle of it.
Not necessarily. You can reach a conclusion and then still verify. You can still go back and double check.
Then how do you know that you're right?
That's exactly what we're doing. We're going back and
shouldn't you have waited to say that you know for sure before you were sure about it?
The other side of it is, so I'm a tweet. I mean, people say lots of things. People said I was a Russian spy.
Who cares what they say? I only care about the facts.
Right.
And we have all these studies that have looked at all of these things.
If you care,
the professors that you put out there saying, no, this is who Trump is listening to, it's not us, they've been debunked by the guys who developed their data.
Wait, Chris. I didn't put any professor out there.
You said, I think Trump is referring to these two guys from George Mason University, those professors who put out a study. You're quoted as saying that.
No. I did not.
So somebody just put those words in your mouth?
Absolutely.
Oh. All right, well, that's another problem then, right?
Maybe.
All right.